Darkfi is a platform for launching applications. Like now we have anonymous chat, anonymous organizations, anonymous tasks, anonymous trading. So it's like an entire kind of platform. You've got your social media, you've got your economic activity, you can organize, you can mobilize. But it's tools for, not for just trivial stuff, but for doing real things, like real needs, real important things that people need to do.
Right, okay. And so, I mean, I'm somewhat familiar with DeFi and all the liquidity pools stuff, and I assume it's a similar suite of tools, only the privacy aspects.
Yeah, so Darkfi is like the anonymous version of Ethereum.
Right, okay. And it has its own native token?
Yes, it has its own token, its own blockchain, etc.
Right, what's the name of that chain?
Darkfi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And the token?
It's not launched yet. We're not mainnet.
Right, okay.
We're just testnet for now, but we're coming soon to mainnet.
Gotcha, okay. So this reminds me now a little bit of these other privacy tokens. Monero we've seen down there, and was Dash?
Yeah, it's Dash, Monero,
Zcash.
Zcash,
And so this
Firo.
is like an evolution of those?
Yeah, exactly.
It's
a project. It's been in like research and development for many years now, for like 5 years.
Right, okay. But outside of it as a product or a suite of tools, can you, what's the philosophy? Like, who's attracted to this as a solution for problems like, who's the main customer? Who's the number one customer, I guess?
So right now, we see in England that people are being shut down for free speech, and the states are becoming authoritarian, and and we live in this surveillance apparatus, which is very dangerous because it stops people, from being able to politically organize. And so Darkfi is the attempt to create this platform which is completely anonymous, completely uncensored, and completely sovereign, resistant to any attack. And we have this concept where what we see happening now in cryptocurrency is it's splitting into two parts. One part is the RegFi, which is above ground, it's regulated, it's completely compromised, and but that's not what cryptocurrency is about. Cryptocurrency was made to deliver freedom to people, to allow people to escape, tyranny, and to be able to create a parallel free society. And that's what we want to bring forwards. And the name Darkfi comes from the director of the FBI made a speech in 2013 where he talked about the going dark problem, which if enough people on the internet start using cryptography technology, it will create these dark zones in the internet where law enforcement will not be able to go in. And we actually, rather than seeing that as a bad thing, we think that's a good thing. That's what people need, because it's really important to have freedom for people. And so we have this concept of the dark forest, which is, the internet now, it's like just a desert. It's like a homogeneous desert under the surveillance. And it's like a desert that reduces everything to being the same, the same thoughts, the same speech, etc. And the dark forest, though, we contrast that with the forest, which is it provides cover and concealment, and there's all little areas, there's distinctiveness, and so that allows the kind of cyber guerrilla to mobilize, to move, and to be protected. And this is what we need more than ever, because people are really suffering, and the states are becoming authoritarian, and they're dividing communities, and they're trying to stop people having community. And so, okay, what can you use Darkfi for? Well, imagine an authoritarian government comes into power and they start putting your friends in jail. Okay, then what you can do on Darkfi, you can create an organization, a DAO, and you can do fundraising, and you can fundraise into that organization, and then you can collectively manage it using token weighted voting, fully on chain. And then you can communicate fully anonymously, and then also make payments to people or payment for things, and you can organize and you can mobilize and you can trade, and you can and as a basis for new online communities to resist authoritarianism. We've made like the world's most anonymous chat system that exists. Like, all the messages are completely unlinkable. We've made the world's first and only fully anonymous DAO, which is an on-chain organization where you can put funds in and is managed by the token holders. Like, it's like democratic. We have like anonymous task manager, etc., because we're engineering for the future. And nobody else is doing this in cryptocurrency. Everybody in cryptocurrency is compromised because they're taking money from, the big companies, from the central banks, etc. So they're saying, oh, we're going to make a revolution, but they're already lost before they begin because they're compromised.
But that's an interesting point there, because we see on EVM, DeFi, these sort of benevolent leaders of their own little tribes on different chains around their project. Usually it's a meme coin or a token or something. Yeah. What mechanisms have been put in place to prevent that sort of occurrences in Darkfi? Because you mentioned authoritarianism, and I can't help but think a lot of these tools just accelerate or make more efficient those processes that we already have in the governments and corporations already have today. So are there preventative measures in place at the protocol level or whatever to...
Yeah. So the problem with all of these projects, like Ethereum, is they've fallen into the same trap of the thing they claim to be fighting against, which is like, oh, we're going to construct a new system to manage people. That's completely the wrong way of doing things. And in fact, like, when you create a community, it needs to have a philosophy. That needs to be at the heart of everything you do. And Darkfi, we take a completely different approach. Is like, what are the tools that communities need? What are the tools that people need? And we engineer for that. That's why in cryptocurrency, despite having all these billions of dollars of wealth, etc., and all this time, they haven't been able to put products that people need into people's hands. And instead, they're like just creating new tools for speculation or things that are not useful. So I think it really comes down to philosophy and creating a community that embody that philosophy.
And that's a great point, because Satoshi he vanished, or they vanished, or whatever. But the philosophy lives on. How has that changed or been co-opted by certain groups over the last, I think, 15 years? Is Bitcoin something?
Early Bitcoin had a very strong ideology that drove it, which was, the evils of the central banks, gold-backed currency, libertarianism, etc. And that was really important. It was like, the vision was, the central banks, they're taking money from people, and, Bitcoin, let's create this like universal sound money. And that was really important because it gave focus and it was able to drive the community forwards towards that goal. But as cryptocurrency has grown or evolved, those ideas they're limited, and there's been a need to change or to update those ideas, and that hasn't happened inside of cryptocurrency. And there haven't been people have attempted to construct new narratives, but usually just like to sell a product, and they're not really connected to like a deeper philosophy. They're just very surface level narratives, like, oh, modular blockchains is the new next big thing, etc. So because first of all, universal sound currency, the whole world, if they had to live under like one global currency, one global economic system, that'd be very dystopian. That'd be very that would be totalitarian almost. And we've seen in cryptocurrency that there's like many currencies and they all have different uses, etc. So there's been a need, there's like a need for the ideology or the philosophy to evolve, because that old set of ideas in Bitcoin no longer equips people with the power to understand or to like or it no longer equips people with the concepts that allow them to understand the world effectively, and so it's remained stunted, and that has allowed other groups to come in, and nihilist groups to just kind of take advantage of that and to just use it as get-rich-quick schemes. And you see cryptocurrency people who they have values kind of decrying that, going, oh, these people, these bad actors coming in, taking advantage, making scams on crypto. But it's also a failure on our part, a failure to put forward a compelling vision, to build our side of the movement.
But what would you say to someone who was considering trying to launch a token on one of these chains because they believed in their product and they had some sort of deeper mission, like outside of, how would you advise them, I suppose? Because community is so important, even to an extent more so than the product or the service that you're supposed to provide.
So in tech, there's like a strategy now that everybody's taking, which is make a product. It's a shiny product. It's non-threatening. It doesn't threaten the status quo, and get VC money, which the VC money, they get it from the system, from the central banks. And when you're a part of that, you have to act in a certain way. And the thing is that elite class is very detached from what the entire rest of the world is experiencing right now, what people are saying or thinking or feeling. And if you want to build something that tap into that popular energy, you need to you have to encode your values into your software from the foundation, from the base, and you have to build for the future. Don't build for now, for the people now that are in power, because they won't be in power. That's coming to an end. And that's why technology has become stagnant and has failed to, in the recent years, deliver innovation. It's just because people are stuck in a dead end. If you want to, you need to break free of that, and because your community and the people is not just like random people, that you're like building an organism, and the center of that organism is the story that you tell. So if you want to create something that's powerful, you need to have a powerful story that speaks to people.
And can you have that powerful story without the human individual? Because, you mentioned DAOs before. Usually they do these multi-sig type setups where they have a couple of people, 3 out of...
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah, or you have the benevolent director, one dude who just pushed it out and has a story to tell. Like, which is the better way to go? Because it seems like are those the only options?
No, it's very bad now, because on the internet, it's all become about celebrity culture, about personality. And the thing is that I have a friend who's runs a major project, and I really disagree with what he says, but this is what he says. He says, oh, Amir, when you make a project, you can't have too many alphas. You have to have betas under the control of alphas. Otherwise, the alphas will fight and tear the project apart. But that's a good thing. You want strong people, in your projects, fighting to make the best thing. You want thinking people. The problem is today, when people build organizations, because the leaders themselves are so weak, they only want to have slave people underneath their control. And the thing is, if you're trying to create a new type of society and you start building that form of organization, you've already lost before you started. Instead, what we should be building is we should be lifting people up. We should be, people that have potential, putting things into them, putting skills in them, helping develop their talent. So we create the future leaders, so that we actually build something that's bigger than ourselves. So that actually has a chance of success. But everybody's just concerned with their own position of power, and that's why we're so limited in what we've been able to do. And everybody's competing just to get above the other person. How can we do anything bigger when we live in this situation where states are using intelligence agencies to divide people from the other, to divide communities. If we're all fighting against each other, how can we build something new? So we need to escape out of that. That's essential. And the way that we do that is by developing people, enhancing people. That's why in Darkfi we have a training system. We have an academy where we train people in philosophy, we train them in technical skills. That's like open to everybody in our community.